Hello everyone, I'm going to quickly show you how to work out square and cubic units. They're a little bit different than linear units, which are the basic scale factor that you might be used to already. But they start with that and they're based on that and they work up from there. So we're going to start with looking at things like this. If you think about, we're going to imagine that's a 1 centimetre line. Now plainly it isn't because it's bigger, but you need to be able to see it. But we're going to imagine that's a 1 centimetre line. If that's a 1 centimetre line, it's exactly the same as a 10 millimetre line, isn't it? And most of you are quite happy about that conversion. So 1 centimetre equals 10 millimetres. If I'm converting from centimetres into millimetres, I need to multiply by 10 for my number, my digit. And going the other way, she says drawing an arrow the same way, going the other way, if I wanted to go from millimetres to centimetres, I would divide by 10. That's quite nice and straightforward, and most of you will be quite happy with doing that already and quite comfortable getting it sorted. But it gets a little bit more tricky when we deal with square units. If we start to think about that little line, that 1 centimetre line, as a 1 centimetre square, we've got square units here. But what you'll see is that we've got our same 1 centimetre line, and to get that 1 centimetre squared, we multiplied it by another 1 centimetre square line in the other direction. So we've got 1 centimetre times 1 centimetre, which equals, I'm going to put the units to help us work it out, and that equals 1 centimetre squared. The 1 times the 1 giving the 1, and centimetre times the centimetre giving us the centimetre squared. Equally, if we had that same size square, but we're dealing with it in millimetres, then we're going to have 10 millimetres and 10 millimetres. When we work it out, I'm still forgetting my units. I need to remember what I'm doing. When we work it out, we end up with 100 millimetres squared. So going from centimetres to millimetres, we multiply by 10, or millimetres to centimetres, we divide by 10. But when we're dealing with centimetres squared and millimetres squared, we have to multiply by 100 or divide by 100. Because we're multiplying that 1 by 1 over here, and over here we've times that 1 by 10 to make it we've multiplied that 1 by 10 to make it 10 millimetres, and we've multiplied that 1 by 10 for this one to make it 10 millimetres. So our 1 times 1 becomes 10 times 10, so our answer of 1 becomes 100. And that's how we work with square units. So our times 100 is really times 10 times 10. We've taken our linear scale factor and we've squared it. So our linear scale factor, that means our line scale factor, linear for line, linear scale factor, I'm going to put linear on my vocabulary list because I forgot it on there. My linear scale factor might be times 10, but my area scale factor is going to be times 10 squared, because area is a square unit. Now the same thing applies when we come into volume. I'm going to have to rub this one out to make space. So if I now wanted to have, rather than lines or squares, if I now wanted to have cubes, just like that, my 1 centimetre over here, to find the volume, I'm going to do 1 centimetre for the width or the base times 1 centimetre for the height times 1 centimetre for the depth. It's exactly the same over here. but this time I'm going to be working in 10 millimeters. And I think you can probably already see what's going to happen, can't you? My 1 times 1 times 1 stays as 1. And in this case, it's centimetres cubed because, again, I've forgotten to put my units. Centimetres times centimetres times centimetres gives me centimetres cubed. So I've got 1 centimetre times 1 centimetre times 1 centimetre. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Centimetre times centimetre times centimetre, centimetres cubed. Over here, my 10 millimetres times 10 millimetres times 10 millimetres gives me 1,000 millimetres cubed. So my unit, where I've multiplied for my volume, I'm going to have to multiply by 1,000, or to go back from millimetres to centimetres, I'm going to have to divide by 1,000. So my volume scale factor is times 10 cubed. Now, obviously, I've done that with centimetres and millimetres, but the same thing applies if you're dealing with metres and kilometres, or if you're dealing with millimetres and metres. Whatever your linear scale factor is, your lines scale factor, if you like, you're going to square that if you're dealing with area, and you're going to cube that if you're dealing with volume. And it's actually the same thing if you're dealing with enlargements of shapes as well. So even if you didn't know what your units were, if they were just a random unit and you were asked to enlarge the shape, if you were asked to enlarge it by scale factor 2, then your linear scale factor would be times 2, so each line would be 2 times bigger than before. And then your area scale factor would be times 2 times 2, because each of the dimensions is multiplied by 2. And then if you had a cubic shape, an actual real 3D shape, because it's got 3 dimensions, that's what 3D means, 3 dimensions, you'd have to multiply your scale factor in all 3 dimensions. So you'd have your scale factor from your lines cubed.